Hello, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea. You're listening to Gunslingers, brought to you from behind the Iron Curtain on Radio Free California. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Gunslingers right here on
the Gunslinger Syndicated Radio Network.
That's us.
Yep, live.
From San Diego to San Francisco, from LA to Phoenix to Las Vegas.
And all over the internet, folks. That's on all your streaming service. That's YouTube, Facebook Live, X, Rumble. We are there. We are live. Go ahead and when you're in there, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and put up your questions. We've got a great guest tonight, and we have Rick from the CRPA coming on. So any questions, comments, anything you need to know, make sure you're either calling.
Well, and if they're going to call, what's the number?
866-870-5752. Again, 866-870-5752, or leave your comment in the comment section.
All right. And we got our wandering musician back.
He is back, folks.
Mark is here, so we got the band back together.
Hey, the boys are
now,
back
I wanted
in
to say,
town.
should we say we put the fun in guns or we put the sin in syndicated?
Yeah.
Looking for my
Yes, nod with approval.
Yeah, I'll go for both. Yes. So for those of you who have not heard us or are just tuning in, what we are is a fun with guns, and we try and stay out of politics. Of course, we do have Rick from the CRPA coming on in the next segment, and he will cover pretty much all the politics and let us know what the Democrats are trying to do to us this week. But as far as that, and then at the bottom of the hour, we've got a guest. Now, most of you guys are never going to heard of this guy. His name is Scott. He is from the Midwest, and well, let's just put it this way. One night I was sitting at home. Wednesday night is Night at the Range on the Outdoor Channel. Yep. And I'm watching it, and Shooting USA comes on, and they have this guy on who is the utmost authority on everything 1911. And they did a whole big long segment with him, and I was just sitting there and looking at the stuff that he has and the things that he's had and so on and so on. And I was just absolutely knocked out, and I went, you know what? One of these days, I got to hunt that guy down. Well, a couple of auctions ago, we had a Colt Ace. Now, for those of you that don't know, again, what a Colt Ace is this is a 1911 in 22.
This is not a conversion. This
is the actual gun made in 22. Now, this came with a Colt letter. It was an absolutely pristine condition. The Colt letter said that it was made in the 1930s and sent to the Navy. Mm-hmm. Now, it sold for high five figures.
Let's say.
Yeah, we'll just say high five figures.
That's how popular that is.
Yeah, because this is super scarce, very rare, and very collectible. And the gentleman that bought it sent 3 pictures to Scott.
Only 3.
3 pictures, and he said it's fake.
From the pictures.
And so the gentleman called me and said, I'm sorry, but that gun's not real. And I'm, what are you talking about? Get out of here with this. What are you talking about over here? And so he says, no, the guy, I sent him 3 pictures, and I go, you can't tell that from pictures. There's no way. I'm sorry, but no. And so he says, let me give you his number. So he gave me his number, and I called him.
Apparently, Mr. 1911 can.
Yeah, and I called him. I said, hi, Scott, this is Jeff from Gunslinger Auctions, and apparently we've got a gun that's in question. And he said, oh, okay, and I said, it's a Colt Ace. He goes, oh, yeah, that's a system of frame. I mean, how can you tell that from 3 pictures? He goes, oh, it's easy. Look, just take the grip off. Okay, so I took the grip off. He said, take the back strap, the safety out. Da, 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 da. He says, now, you see that number? It's going to start with a 7 and a 9. And I'm like, uh-oh. You've got to be kidding me.
He does
From 3 pictures, he nailed this gun that was authenticated by Colt. So
okay, now you know what? That's my favorite part of the story.
I mean, unbelievable. Not only was it authenticated, it had sold at another very high-end auction. I won't name names, but a very reputable, very high-end auction company.
And they sold it as authentic.
And the gentleman sold it or bought it for a considerable, but not as much as we sold it for, but a considerable amount of money. So I just thought, wow, I've got your number. I said, if you don't mind, one day I'm going to call you. And so I finally got a hold of him. We talked, and so he's going to be our guest at the bottom of the hour.
How cool to have that level of expertise in the room. But you know
Yeah.
what? That's why you listen to the Gunslinger Hour.
That's right. Well, the Gunslinger Show.
The Gunslinger
The whole show. Come on, baby.
So anyway, that's going to be our guest. And, if you've got questions, feel free to send them to Jimmy on the internet.
Yeah, definitely.
And we'll try and squeeze them in because I got a few myself.
Yes.
But how the hell did you do that?
Right? Mr. Magic. Is the 1911 is that not the premier? I recognize a lot of people like Glocks and Smiths. Is that not the premier handgun in the United States of America?
Oh, easily.
That's the platform.
And it has been since 1911.
1911.
There was something like 152 makers
Yeah.
of that gun.
Yeah, at least. And there's still to this day.
And apparently he can eyeball a Sistema from a picture.
And all the stuff had been shaved off just absolutely gorgeously. It had a beautiful tone to it. I mean, this thing was just like, wow. So for those of you wondering, so here's what we did. I refunded the man his money, of course, because you can't.
Right.
Okay.
No, yes.
And so we relisted it as a Colt Ace upper with a Sistema lower. Looks beautiful. Comes with a Colt letter that unfortunately
It means nothing.
means next to nothing. But
That letter should be worth something. That's like a misstrike at the mint, right?
Kind of, sort of.
Anyway.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. So I think we ended up getting $2,000 for it.
Even still.
Yeah,
Come on, folks.
because the top was nice and it was a low number. So that, but other than
That's
that,
a great story, man.
Yeah, this is a thing, stuff that happens to you. You cannot be an expert in absolutely everything. And
listen, the point at which Colt says, "Yeah, that's one of ours."
Yeah.
you got to feel pretty good about that.
You do.
But he was right.
And they got us. And so before we get going too long, I want to thank again our good friends Leon the Motor Man and George the Airplane Man
Yes.
for coming on and doing a Motor Slinger show with us.
The Motor Slingers. That was great. Thanks, guys.
They were so jazzed when we left. They were like, "Do we have to wait till September?" So we're going to figure out a date, and we're going to have them back in August.
Sweet.
But here's what I want, guys. I want more phone calls from you guys. If Leon's gonna, he comes out of retirement just to help us on our show. Damn it, call.
Show your love. Make sure. I know you guys are not done with your car questions out there,
No.
or trying to pick the minds of those two gentlemen.
Or just say thank you for 43 years on air.
Let's.
Of automotive and broadcasting excellence.
There's a very good chance that Leon will remember your call from before, way back in the day.
Yep.
He remembers all his fans are like his family. You know that. So show a little love to that guy, man.
Yep.
Please.
And speaking of Leon fans, let's get to Richard at the airport.
Real one.
Like how I segue him every week.
You're the best.
What's going on, Richard?
Good evening, you slick holster gunslinger.
Ding, ding, ding.
What's going on, Richard?
Yeah, I've got a question. What do you think, in your opinion, is the best BB gun nowadays? To purchase a BB gun?
Well, let me get this out right off the bat. You're talking BB guns or BB or pellet guns? Because pellet guns are a whole different critter. We just took one in for auction for September yesterday. That's a $1,500 pellet gun. BB guns like
1,500 folks.
Yeah, BB guns like those are Red Riders.
$49.
Yeah, I
The
bought my
Daisy.
first one at Gemco for I think $4.99, and it was a Winchester 94.
Break your knuckles when you try to work the lever.
Yeah, you cannot do it.
But a modern pellet rifle, those things go 1,500 feet per second.
Easily, and you can get them up to 25 caliber.
Oh yeah.
So you can actually do damage with those things. So I would say in a pellet gun, boy, Walther makes them. Diana makes
a bunch of European makes.
Yeah,
and the technology on them is stunning.
And I don't know any American companies that are really doing much in pellets.
Dan Weston still does make a BB gun as well.
Oh, well, there you go. But go ahead.
The old days in the 40s and 50s, the BB guns were very good quality.
Yeah.
But are they that good now?
No, they're not. They're plastic. The old Red Ryder that came with a wood stock with the Red Ryder, insignia.
And maybe a compass in the stock if you're lucky.
Yeah, and those things were really good, really cool, and they could put your eye out. But that's another story. Richard, we got to go. Give us your joke.
Okay, J. Paul Getty is starting to sell hot tubs, and they're called spaghetti.
Spaghetti, you meatball. Hey.
All right, Richard, thanks. We'll talk to you
God
next
bless
week.
you, Richard.
Bye-bye. All right. Hey, as promised, we will be back. Yeah, I always play this song for Jimmy.
Love it.
He left out his business partner, Al Dente. Sorry. Go on.
All right, Al Dente. We'll be back with Rick from the CRPA right after this. You're listening to
The Gunslingers Syndicated Radio Network. Let's go.